Someone to let me know if I'm audible. Someone to let me know if I'm audible. Someone to let me know if I'm audible. Good evening, Christabel. Good evening, Linda. Good evening, Diogratius. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So before we start, I just have to ensure that everything is set. We are all set. So please confirm if I am audible. Otherwise, on my end, I'm having a little bit of an issue with network. But I hope this live class will be a success. Okay. So I want us to simply revise a question for locomotion. That's what I want us to do. So I have to ensure that everything is set. I'm audible and you're able to see. So I'm about to display the question, but before I do that, let's first deal with the issue of sound. Okay. So if I'm audible, kindly let me know. So yeah, I'm seeing comments. Miguel, not very clear. Okay. Good evening, Linda. Good evening, Christine Chikongwani. Good evening, Deborah. I hope I'm audible. Okay, audible enough. Okay. Mulamfu, you are okay. So I can start, right? We can begin, isn't it? Can we start with this live class? Can we start? Someone to say yes, sir. Let's start. Then we can begin. Okay. So yeah, let me just display behind time. So I won't take much of your time. So let me display the question and then you let me know if it is clear on your end. Okay, let me just display the question and then you will let me know if it is clear on your end. Good evening, Miss Helen. Miss Helen is my former online student. It's good to see you. It's good to see you, Miss Helen. Hope you are doing fine. It's been a while, eh? And it's been a while since I went live. So please let me know if the question is clear on your end. If not, I'll make adjustments, but please let me know if you're able to see. Yeah, the network is bad. The network is bad. Okay, so someone is saying not clear. Okay, let me try to do this. I hope this is going to work. Just a minute. Okay. Okay, are we able to see? Because I'll be zooming in. So just let me know if you are able to see. Is this better? So yeah, please let me know if I'm audible and if what you are saying is clear. So two things, am I audible and can you see what I am displaying? Let me know if I'm audible and if you can see what I am displaying on the screen. So ensure that as you are watching this live class, you tilt your phone, it should be on landscape, okay? Tilt your phone, it should be on landscape, and increase the quality of this video, because that's when you'll be able to see. So if the quality of the video is low, you won't really be able to see. So the way you can change the quality is when you tap on the screen. When you tap on your screen, you will see a kama gear icon. Tap on that gear icon, and then you will see on top there it's written its quality. Okay, and then make sure that the quality is at 480 pixels, okay, or 720 pixels, depending on the bundles that you have. Okay, so those are the instructions. Make sure that you're watching this video on high quality. That's when you'll be able to see clearly. Otherwise, I'll be moving this page up and down like this. Okay, so before I start, I have to ensure that all of us we are set, then I can start. So please let me know if I'm audible. You will help me when you tell me, and then you help me by telling me, and then let me know if you can clearly see what is on the screen. Okay, so Madeline saying that I'm audible, okay, which is good. Can you clearly see what is on the screen? Okay, so I think we can start. Yeah, I think we can now start. So this is a question which you were given. Okay, for my one-on-one students as well as those in the group, we were given this same question, and I noticed that some of you were making mistakes, and that is why I thought of having this live class so that I can clarify some things. So last week we were looking at locomotion. So quickly, before we even look at this question, who can define locomotion? What is locomotion? What is locomotion? So at this point, if everything is not clear on your end, then it should be with the network. Okay, so the first question is, what is locomotion? Okay, what is locomotion? Who can define locomotion for us? You can type it, then I'll be able to see it. Okay, what is locomotion? Define locomotion. We did this last week, so I am sure that we all know the definition of locomotion, unless we are not studying. Otherwise, what is locomotion? Okay, so we've got an answer from Miss Maggie. Okay, Miss Maggie saying the movement of the entire body from one place to another. The movement of an entire body from one place to another. Anyone else? Anyone? What is locomotion? What is locomotion? Anyone else? What is locomotion? Okay, we've got another answer from Eunice. Miss Eunice is saying locomotion is the movement of an entire organism from one place to another. Then Miss Walia or Mr. Walia, I don't know if it's male or female. Movement of the entire body of an organism from one place to another. And then Mr. Deborah is saying locomotion is the movement of an organism, of an entire organism from one place to another. Mr. David is saying locomotion is the movement of an entire organism from one place to another with the help of the skeleton. All the answers that you've given me are correct. Locomotion is simply the movement of an entire organism from one place to another. So this movement involves the entire body. Okay, so right now you are seated, some of you are seated, some of you are standing. Depending on your posture, once you change where you are, you go to another place, you change your position, you move from that place to another place, you have locomoted because the entire body has moved. Okay, so locomotion involves the movement of an entire body. The whole body has to move from one place to another. That is locomotion. Now, there's a difference between locomotion and movement. There's a difference between locomotion and movement. Who can tell us the difference between locomotion and movement? What's the difference between locomotion and movement? What's the difference between locomotion and movement? What's the difference between locomotion and movement? What is the difference between locomotion and movement? What is the difference between locomotion and movement? That's the question, the second question. What is the difference between locomotion and movement? Okay. So we've got an answer from Maggie. Miss Maggie saying locomotion is done from one place to another while movement is done within. Okay. Okay. Anyone else to try? Anyone else to try? The difference between locomotion and movement. Anyone? Just one comment and then we can move on. Okay. Locomotion is the entire body, e.g., an animal, while movement can be like a tree, but the leaves just. Okay, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. So when it comes to locomotion, it involves the entire body. Now, what you need to know is this: where you are seated right now, if you move, if you change your location, and you have also but it is not locomotion because you're still at that same position. So all locomotion is movement, but not all movement is locomotion. I hope that is clear. That's the difference. So all locomotion is movement, but not all movement is locomotion. What that statement means is that you can be at one position and part of your body is moving. That is movement, but it is not locomotion. Okay, that is why we're saying that not all movement is locomotion. But if you change your position, you move from that place where you are right now, you go to another place, your entire body is moving. That is locomotion, and it is also movement. Therefore, all locomotion is also movement, but not all movement is locomotion. Hope we're clear. Otherwise, yeah, we've defined what locomotion is, and we've also differentiated between movement and locomotion. Now, for us to be able to locomote, it's because we have the skeleton. You and I, we've got the skeleton, okay, of which there are different types of skeletons. But today I want to focus on the muscles. Now, what muscles do is that they contract and relax. That's what muscles do. And when they contract and relax, they produce movement, okay? So when a muscle contracts, movement is going to be produced. Now we've got what we call extensor muscles as well as flexor muscles. These muscles, they exist at joints, okay? Like for example, a hinge joint, like the one we are seeing here in this diagram. We've got a hinge joint. This is a hinge joint in figure 13.2, okay? So we've got two muscles here. And like I said, muscles contract to produce movement. Now we've got flexor muscles as well as extensor muscles. These two muscles, they are known as skeletal muscles. They are known as what? Skeletal muscles, because they are attached to the skeleton. Now, what is an extensor muscle? Let me ask that question. What is an extensor muscle? Let's be quick. Let's be quick with the answers. What is an extensor muscle? What is an extensor muscle? What is an extensor muscle? You can comment your answers. You can comment your answers. What are extensor muscles? Let me just check the comments. I hope you're commenting your answers. What are extensor muscles, or what is an extensor muscle? Yes, my excellent students, what is an extensor muscle? No one knows. Anyone to try? Okay, if you don't know, say I don't know. Okay, we've got an answer from Miss Maggie. Extensor muscle are muscles that when straightened, they contract. Good try, but you've just mixed the sentence up. Okay. So an extensor muscle, okay, it is a muscle that will cause a joint to extend, or it will cause a joint to straighten. An extensor muscle. It will cause a joint to straighten when it contracts. That's what extensor muscles do. They are going to cause a joint to become straight. It's a joint, meaning there is a possibility of it bending, isn't it? But there's a muscle known as an extensor muscle which will cause that joint to become straight. So that is an extensor muscle. And then a flexor muscle, it's just the opposite of that. It is a muscle that causes a joint to bend when it contracts. Remember, I said that muscles contract or relax to produce movement. So an extensor muscle, when it contracts, it will cause a joint to become straight or to straighten. And then a flexor muscle, when it contracts, it will cause a joint to bend. Okay, those are the two muscles. So those that didn't know, I hope you now know. An extensor muscle, and make sure that you watch the tutorial videos that I sent. Okay, so an extensor muscle will cause a joint to extend or to straighten, and then a flexor muscle will cause a joint to bend. So nangu hapa pa kwanza hapa, your hand, there is a joint at your elbow, where there's an elbow there's a joint there. So there's a joint, there are two muscles which you have, okay? One muscle is an extensor muscle which is going to cause your hand to straighten, and the other muscle is a flexor muscle which will cause your joint to bend. Okay, so we've got an extensor muscle and a flexor muscle. Likewise, even here, we've got an extensor muscle and a flexor muscle. So we've got muscle Y and muscle X. One of them is an extensor and the other one is a flexor. Okay, so the question is asking, in order to straighten the leg, what happens to muscle X and Y? Two marks. In order to straighten the leg, what happens to muscle X and Y? So what is going to happen to muscle X and muscle Y in order to straighten this leg? The first thing that you need to do, my excellent student, is to first identify what is muscle Y and what is muscle X. Once you know these two muscles, then you'll be able to answer this question. Okay. Now, some of you were saying bicep, tricep. When you look at this is a leg. A leg has got no bicep or tricep. Those are muscles in your hand or in your hand. They are not, those muscles only exist in your hand. So those who were saying bicep, tricep, that was wrong. Okay. So we've got these two muscles. We have to identify them. So when you look at what we have, this leg is going to be, it will bend. This leg, it will bend when muscle X contracts. In other words, when you're walking, your leg bends backwards. And the muscle that causes your legs to bend backwards is muscle X here, which is a flexor muscle. So muscle X is a flexor muscle. Okay, it's a flexor muscle. Muscle Y, on the other hand, it is an extensor muscle. It is the one that causes this leg to straighten as you are walking. So for it to become straight, it's because of muscle Y which contracts. I hope we're following my students. So they are asking, in order to straighten the leg, what happens to muscle X and Y? So muscle X will relax. This muscle, it is going to relax. And then and then muscle Y will contract. Now, if you look at these two muscles, they are a pair. They are a pair. Muscle X and muscle Y are a pair, meaning when one muscle contracts, the other one will automatically relax. So we are saying that muscle X will relax while muscle Y will contract. Okay, so that's what happens in order to straighten this leg. Muscle Y is going to contract, muscle X is going to relax. Now, why are we saying muscle Y will contract? We are saying that muscle Y is going to contract because muscle Y is an extensor muscle, and it is a muscle that will cause this joint to become straight. That is why we're saying that, oh, in order for this to straighten, muscle Y obviously has to contract because it is an extensor muscle, and when it contracts, it will cause a joint to become straight or to straighten. Okay, that is the answer for the first question. So muscle Y is an extensor muscle and it will contract. Muscle X is a flexor muscle and it is going to relax in order for this leg to straighten. I hope we are following. Okay. And then let me just mention this. So if you're having issues with your network, this live class is being recorded. So afterwards, okay, I'll be able to send a link for this live class and you'll be able to watch at your own free time. So don't worry about that. Okay. So which of these muscles is a flexor or extensor muscle? I think I've already mentioned that. Which of these muscles is a flexor or extensor muscle? So muscle Y is an extensor muscle, and then muscle X is a flexor muscle. Remember, muscle Y, it being an extensor muscle, it is the one which is going to cause this joint to straighten, while muscle X, it is the one which causes a joint to bend. Okay, so it is a flexor muscle. And then the final one, differentiate the following. Differentiate the following. So we've got A, differentiate tendon and ligament, and then B, differentiate ball socket joint and hinge joint. So tendon and ligament, these are simply tissues, my excellent students. They are tissues in your body. Now, when it comes to the tendon, what it does is that it joins a bone to a muscle. It is the one that links a bone to a muscle or a muscle to a bone. It joins a muscle to a bone. So pakwanja hapo, there is a tendon which is going to cause the muscles in your hand to link to the bones in your hand so that you'll be able to bend your hand. Okay. Tendon, it joins a muscle to a bone, while ligament, it joins a bone to a bone. This was explained in the tutorial videos. I hope you watched them. So the difference between the tendon and the ligament is that for a tendon, it joins a bone to a muscle, while ligament, it joins a bone to a bone. Okay. And then when it comes to ball socket joint and hinge joint, for a ball and socket joint, this is a joint that allows movement in 3 planes. For example, the one which is on your shoulder, there's a joint there, the one which is on your shoulder. That joint is a ball and socket joint. You are able to raise your hand, okay? You're able to raise your hand up, you're able to move it, you're able to do sideways, you're able to do up, you're able to do sideways and down, isn't it? 3 planes. 3 planes. You can move your hand in 3 planes because of the ball and socket joint which exists on your shoulder. So you're able to lift your hand up, you're able to do sideways, and you're able to do down. 3 planes because of the ball and socket joint. So ball and socket joint allows movement in 3 planes. But for hinge joint, it allows movement in 1 plane. So hinge joint is like a door. A door can only open one way. It cannot open the other way. It only opens one way. It will form a 180 degrees angle when it opens, when it fully opens. It's the same thing with a hinge joint. Okay, it only allows movement in a one plane. So to differentiate between the two, you can say ball and socket joint allows movement in three planes, while the hinge joint allows movement in one plane. That's the answer for question 3b. So this was the assignment which I gave you. Only error that I muscles, most of you were given you were that is wrong. The bicep and the tricep, these are muscles that are found in your hand, not in your leg. Okay? Yeah. Otherwise, muscle Y is an extensor muscle. Muscle X is a flexor muscle. And remember, muscle Y, which is an extensor muscle, it will cause a joint to straighten. Then muscle X, which is a flexor muscle, it will cause a joint to bend. Are we clear, my students? Are we clear? Are we clear? So when it comes to extensor muscle, it causes a joint to straighten. Flexor muscle, it causes a joint to bend. And looking at these two muscles that we have here, muscle Y is a muscle that is going to cause this joint to become straight. Then muscle X is the muscle which is going to cause this joint to bend. So remember, your legs, they bend backwards. That is because of the flexor muscle which exists in your thigh. Okay, which is a flexor muscle. That's a muscle which causes a joint to bend. An extensor muscle, which is muscle Y, it causes a joint to become straight. Okay. And then these two muscles, extensor and flexor, they are known as skeletal muscles. Okay. We've got cardiac, we've got smooth muscle in body tubes, and then we've got skeletal muscles. Why are they known as skeletal muscles? Because they are attached to the muscles, because you can control them. You can tell them to control muscle which is found in your heart. You are not responsible for its function. It happens on its own. It is known as an involuntary muscle, because for it to contract and relax, that happens on its own. That is why they say the cardiac muscle is myogenic, because it works on its own. The contraction, the stimulus for it to contraction comes from within itself. But for skeletal muscles, these are known as voluntary muscles, meaning you are the one who is controlling them. You're the one who is telling them to contract and to relax, to contract and to relax. And they're skeletal muscles because they are attached to the skeleton. So there's a question from Matilda. What is an example of a hinge joint? This here is a hinge joint. Mumendo, on your knee, that is a hinge joint. If you look at your leg cannot bend in front. It bends backwards. That's the only way. So a hinge joint only allows movement in one plane. So your leg can only bend backwards. It cannot bend in front. That is an example of a hinge joint. Even your hand, okay, your hand can only bend in front. It cannot bend backwards. That is another example of a hinge joint. For a shoulder, on your shoulder, you're going to find a ball and socket joint. Okay, on your shoulder, you're going to find a ball. We're seeing in our diagram here in figure 13.2. This here is a hinge joint. Okay, because this leg can only bend backwards. It cannot bend in front. It can only bend backwards. Let me try to draw. So it can only bend going in this direction. Okay, it can only bend going in that direction. It cannot bend in another direction. It cannot bend in front. It can't move in this direction. No, it can't. It cannot bend in that direction. It can only bend backwards. So this is a hinge joint. I hope I've answered your question, Miss Matilda. Otherwise, are we clear? Are we clear? So under locomotion, you need to know the types of skeletons. When you know the types of skeletons, you're cool. You're cool. Know the types of skeletons. You should also know the muscles. The tendon, it connects a muscle to a bone, because muscles, they are the ones that are responsible for moving bone. Okay, and it is the tendon which links the bones, and they are connected to each other. Bones, then the ligament links the bones to the bones. They connect bones to bones. So someone is asking, so flexor and extensor are the names of these muscles? Okay, so when it comes to the names, with the flexor and extensor, these are names given to muscles that perform specific things. So for example, for an extensor, it is a name given to a muscle that causes a joint to straighten. Okay, it is a name given to a muscle that causes a joint to straighten. Then for a flexor muscle, it is a muscle that causes a joint to bend, so to say. But there are now specific names. For example, in your hand, we've got bicep. I'm sure you've heard of biceps. My biceps. So a bicep is a muscle which will cause a joint to bend. So since that's the case, a bicep is it is a tricep. And then we've got um so we've got a bicep and a tricep. Sorry, let me say that again. We've got a bicep and a tricep. When it comes to biceps, they are the ones that are going to cause a joint to bend. Therefore, they are flexor muscles. Bicep, they are flexor muscles because the muscle, it causes a joint to stay. A tricep is an extensor, and then a bicep is a flexor muscle because it causes, when you want to show your muscles, muma at pompa, at pompa, they are the ones that are going to cause a joint to bend. Therefore, they are flexor muscles. Okay, then they are known as triceps, right? They are extensor muscles. Yeah, are we clear? My network is tripping, but I hope I'm audible. Are we clear, my students? Can you get me? Can you get me? Yeah, I think the network is bad. The network is really bad. So I hope once because I'm recording this video, so once it's done, I'll be able to send a link in the group. So I hope when I do that, it will be clear. Otherwise, yeah, hopefully tomorrow we're going to have a better live class. Okay, so tomorrow I'll be looking at I want to teach about the sperm cell, because today I gave you an assignment based on that. So I want to teach about that in tomorrow's live class. So make sure that you be part of the live class. It's also raining here. It's also raining here. So can you repeat what you said? So I was talking about names. I was saying that we've got extensor muscle and flexor muscle. These are names that are given to muscles that perform specific roles. So for example, an extensor muscle is a name given to a muscle that causes a joint to extend or to straighten. Then a flexor muscle, that's a name given to a muscle that causes a joint to bend. Then I gave an example. I said that, yeah, those are the categories of muscles, but they are specific names now. So for example, in your hand, we're going to find biceps. Biceps are the ones that are going to cause your hand to bend. Yajaminama malangiza, if you go to the gym and then you want to show your muscles. The ones that we see there are the biceps. Those are muscles that are going to cause a joint to bend. So biceps are an example of of a flexor muscle. And then triceps, on the other hand, which are just below, those are the examples of an extensor muscle, because triceps, okay, biceps will cause your hands to straighten. Therefore, they are extensor muscle. Okay, so we can end here, my students. Fully, tomorrow's live class is going to be better. Yeah. But if at all there are no questions, so don't worry, I'm done. I think we can end here and we can call it a day. On my end, it's raining here. On my end, it's raining. All right, my students, you have a good night. Tomorrow, I'm praying that the network be stable. Otherwise, we're going to continue in tomorrow's live class. We'll be looking at reproduction. Like I said, I'll be teaching on a sperm cell. So you have a good night, and make sure that you do the assignment that I sent today. See you in tomorrow's live class.